Here we go. Thank you, Freeman. All right, there we go. Thank you for the reminder. All right, go right ahead. So, how did you become aware of your affliction, Charlie?
Well, when I was a senior in college, I was taking an encounter group independent study project. And the psychiatrist who was leading the group said, give yourself a piece of advice. So I said, don't blow it. And later that night, I was at a lecture and the speaker said, don't blow it. So I didn't think I was psychotic at the time. I simply thought that he knew what I had said earlier in the day. And from that point on, it seemed that people around me were saying and doing things that had something to do with me in a negative way,
Hmm.
that there was some kind of conspiracy going on. And it was only 6.5 years later
Hmm.
um, that I got on a medication that worked. And eventually I had to conclude that it was an illness because the medication took away all the symptoms. So for the first 6.5 years, I didn't think I had a mental illness. As a matter of fact, I had seen a psychologist in college who said there's no such thing as mental illness.
Oh.
He also said there's no such thing as therapy. He was really eccentric.
Oh. Okay.
And so that's what I went into. And he's the one who put me in the hospital when I developed some problems. So he was kind of contradictory, but I really believe for the whole 6.5 years that there was no such thing as mental illness and that there was an actual conspiracy that I hadn't previously been aware of, that I was now aware of.
Hmm.
Then I got on medication that worked and it all went away as quickly as it came. And so eventually I had to conclude that, for me at least, that I had a mental illness and the medication was taking away the symptoms.
Let me ask you this, since you brought that up about, you know, taking away symptoms. Did you feel when you got on the medication that you felt like how you used to feel before, or was it like a gradual thing? Was it like an immediate reaction, or was it
Um,
gradual?
well, it was, it just seemed normal. First of all, it seemed normal that there was a conspiracy going on, and then it seemed normal that there wasn't. So I
Okay.
didn't really have any intellectual framework for it at the time. It just seemed to happen, and it was just what my experience.
Hmm.
And I mean, when I grew up, I also had a problem of not knowing what to say to people, which was throughout my whole childhood into my mid adulthood. And I was obsessed with the idea that I didn't know what to say to people. So I was never really able to develop close relationships with people and discuss important ideas that I had because I always felt like I didn't know what to say to people. And I only resolved that in a therapy group that I joined when my recovery was beginning. And I
Okay.
was in there for a couple of decades at least. And gradually I learned to express myself with people. Now people say I'm a good advocate. I was not back then. I was
Hmm.
just conforming to what other people were doing. Now people say I'm a good support group facilitator. And back then I didn't know what to say to people. So I ne- I didn't really go back to anything that I had previously. I developed new skills, social skills, in the therapy group I was in.
Interesting. As far as leading therapy groups and so on, does the topic of stigma rear its ugly head at all?
Well, first of all, I don't lead therapy groups. I lead peer support groups.
Okay, my mistake.
Uh,
Peer support groups. Yeah,
Yeah.
does that come up in those peer support groups? You talk of stigma, whether it be
Um,
for schizophrenia or any other mental illness.
I mean, it's out there. I mean, when we're in a peer support group, we're with each other and we all understand what each other is going through. So
Okay.
it's not prominent in the support groups, but it is out there that people face it in the community.
Mhm. Okay.
And people have brought it up. I mean, I faced some stigma. Like I was
Yeah.
at a New Year's Eve party at a neighbor's house, and this woman started talking about how she worked with people with disabilities, and so I thought it was safe to tell her I had schizophrenia, and I
Hmm.
did, and then her whole attitude seemed to change.
Okay.
And
Was it obviously a negative attitude after that?
yeah, yeah,
Did you the conversation continue with her after, or did it
not too
just
much.
end there and then you moved on?
I think I moved on.
Okay. Has that occurred frequently or recently in your life,
Well,
or do you
believe it
think
or
it's getting
not,
better?
most of the people I associate with are familiar with mental illness. They either have it
Good.
themselves or their family members or providers. So I don't really have that much direct contact with people who do not understand it because I'm so much involved with people who do understand it. That's my world.
Okay. Okay. Um, could you, and this is one of the questions I'm going to ask, because actually during our conversations, you've been answering some of these questions. But one that I'm interested in, do you hit any obstacles in your recovery or in dealing with schizophrenia over
Well,
the
yeah,
years?
the first psychiatrist I saw, um, argued with a major belief of mine. Like the psychologist I had seen in college said there was no such thing as mental illness. So
Yeah.
I told that to the psychiatrist that they set me up with in the hospital. And he said, there is such a thing. I've seen it. And from that point on, I didn't trust him for the next 6.5 years. Um, Later on in the Hearing Voices Network training that I took, they have four values. Let's see if I can remember them:
Hmm.
vulnerability, community, validation, and curiosity. And particularly curiosity. And
Hmm.
if he had thought to ask me, well, what do you mean when you say there's no such thing as mental illness, or what are you going through? But he didn't ask me anything about it.
Hmm.
He just tried to argue and force his view on me, which set me back for 6.5 years.
Wow.
Curiosity is a key thing I've learned in relating with someone who may be having thoughts that society doesn't feel are valuable. Just ask them, well, what are you going through? What's it like for you? What does that mean to you?
So
But he didn't do
I'm
any of
sorry.
that.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So
Yeah,
okay. Okay. So the curiosity, I'm curious about that now. So do you feel that curiosity is important in not only schizophrenia, but other types of mental illness as well, in helping individuals come to terms with understanding that what they might have?
well, yeah, because especially like in my situation where I thought everyone around me was conspiring against me.
Hmm.
If someone had tried to empathize with me and ask me what was going on with me, no one ever did. That hopefully would have helped me.
Yeah. How long ago was this, Charlie, when it first came up? When you were in college?
Well, I first went into a psychiatric hospital in 1975, and the last time I was in a psychiatric hospital was 1981.
For the
That,
last
that
time.
was, those were the 6.5 years that I
Yeah.
was getting the ineffective, if you want to call it that, treatment.
Yeah. Do you think maybe the system was not geared to dealing with not only schizophrenia, but any mental illness at all? Or is it just schizophrenia, or you just getting that it
Um,
have its act together?
I think it was just an unfortunate situation that I was in because I later on saw a psychiatric nurse who helped me out, and she said that that doctor was a good doctor.
Hmm.
But to me, he wasn't. To me, he just, you know, was an obstacle for me.
Yeah. And that's what sets you
And
back with
apparently,
six
for
years.
other people, he helped them. So I think we just had a bad chemistry or whatever.
Yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad. Well, at
Yeah,
least, it took you 6 years, but at least you got on the right track, so to
yeah.
speak. One of the questions I have here again is there something that you think you'd like to share with others or for others to understand better when it comes to seeking recovery? Now that since if they understood they have some sort of a mental illness, how do they deal with it and how do they recover from it? Is there any words of
Well,
advice you can give?
everybody's unique. I mean, I've had people in
Yeah.
my support group who said that they don't think that they are in recovery, that they're just who they are. And then I've met other people who live with voices and visions and unusual beliefs and just
Mm,
live with them and don't, and they're not on medication that's taking them away. They just live with these things and learn to relate with them in a productive way. So
mm,
everyone's unique. Like in my case, the medication was the first step in taking away all the symptoms, but that doesn't work for everyone.
yeah. Do you feel medication would last a lifetime, or does it have to change over the years according to each circumstance, or what do you think?
Well, there are some people who medication stops, works for them for a while and then stops, but I'm lucky that hasn't happened to me. I was on one medication that I got on in 1981. Then I got on an even better one in 1996, and I'm still on it to this day.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. And you feel 100%. Well, as much as 100% as you can get, because who does feel 100%?
Mhm.
Very good. Is there anything else you would like to share with us, Charlie? Um,
Um, well, an important part of my life has been peer support.
yes,
Organizations like the Oasis Wellness and Recovery Center of
yes.
Rhode Island and the National Alliance on Mental Illness of Rhode Island, as
Okay,
well as the advocacy done by the Mental Health Association of Rhode Island. These are
okay.
three important organizations that have given me a lot of support, and plus I give back a lot of support. Plus, I never thought I'd find this, but I found a spiritual center that I actually fit in with and
Hmm.
can intellectually identify with and emotionally identify with. And that's a very important part of my life now.
Any specific spiritual centers or in
Well, it's
general?
called the Vedanta Society of Providence.
Okay, okay.
And for a long time, I would go about my business during the day, and then I come home at night and try to figure out what the meaning of life was.
Hmm. That's
And
interesting.
I explored different groups, and I came up with certain political theories, and but finding a community that I can identify with um, when it comes to meaning of life issues has been very helpful.
Can you tell me what you think the meaning of life is, in your
Well,
opinion?
well, Vedanta believes that all religions are paths to God, that they don't say that everybody has to follow the same path. And
Okay.
that's one thing that attracted me to it. And also, they're very open-minded in that they don't say in this lifetime you either succeed or fail, but if you don't succeed in this lifetime, you have another chance next time.
That
You
is
know, there's
interesting.
reincarnation.
Interesting. Is it the Buddhist, I think, believe in reincarnation as well?
No,
Or
it
could be
comes from Hinduism.
Hinduism.
But they
Interesting.
believe that all religions are paths to. I don't even specifically define myself. I just believe in. They also believe that the ultimate state is a unity with God, where you go beyond the dualities of the world and just experience the oneness that's the ultimate reality.
Wow, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and the society is called Dantas?
No, Vedanta, Vedanta.
Vedanta. I gotta check in because I'm a Catholic myself. I follow the faith, but
Uh-huh.
I'm always open to. I have friends who are Hindu and some are Muslim and some are Jews, of course. But I always am open to finding out different ways of
Well,
experiencing God.
there's a Catholic priest named Francis Clooney who's written certain books on
Okay.
Vedanta.
Oh, all right. I'll check that out. Thank
Yeah,
you.
he's spoken at some of our centers. I know he's spoken in Boston at our center in Boston, and I don't know if he's at Harvard, I believe, Harvard Divinity School.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'll check that.
He may have spoken at our center in Providence. I can't
Okay.
remember.
Interesting. All right. Anything else before I let you get back to your afternoon?
Ah, well, that was quick. I thought we were going to go for an hour.
15. Those are the only questions I have, and we do have to have other things we have to get to on the uh, newsletter. But I want to make sure that you have at least a small portion dedicated to what your life and you certainly explained it very well, very succinctly, and I appreciate that. Um, if there's nothing else, we want to again say, Charlie Feldman, thank you for taking the time to sit with us for a few minutes.
Very
Um,
well.
I just being with you for a few minutes, there are things going through in our conversation that were fascinating to me. So I know I will probably reach out to you again down the road for maybe a follow-up or other conversation, especially on spirituality. And I hope you're open to
Mhm.
doing another Zoom call. Can I count on you?
Yeah,
Good, good. And I do get your emails on the Oasis, and I do pass those along, and I certainly appreciate that help that you give us.
you also get my resource emails, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I
Yeah.
do. Thank you so much for that. Well,
Okay.
again, thank you, Charlie. Appreciate your time,
All
even
right.
though it's
Thanks a
short.
lot.
Be well. Have a great afternoon, and we'll talk
All
again,
right.
I'm sure. Take
Yeah.
care.
Thanks.
All righty.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.